The Vitaceae, otherwise known as the grape family. Characteristics: these are dicots. They are woody vines, otherwise known as a liana in the tropics. They have palmate leaves with very coarse margins as a rule. They have tendrils opposite these leaves, little curly bits of tissue that become woody after they wind around something and help hold the vine as it climbs. The fruit is considered a berry. The rest of us call them grapes. Economically, these are exceedingly important because of the wine production. Worldwide, grapes, of course, just as themselves, raisins, currants, the horticultural species, Virginia creeper, and Boston ivy. This is the classic grape look. The rest of the species, there's some pretty wacky ones out there, but they have some floral characteristics that unite them. This is an example of grape. You can see the palmate leaves. The leaf margins are very jaggedy, and you can see the tendrils in the upper left. No, I do not want to change color scheme. You can see the tendrils in the upper left are the woody ones that have produced little feet to help it stick to things, and then there are new fresh ones in the upper right. Flowers are pretty nondescript. Taxonomy: these are angiosperms. They're in the order Vitaceae. Previously they were thrown in the rhamnales, which is like buckthorns. Family Vitaceae is the only family in this order. There's between 9 and 14 genera, depending on which of the feuding taxonomists you want to believe. And the species range from 700 to 1,000, so roughly 900. This is an oddball group. It doesn't seem to be related to much else out there, although they clearly have genetic relationships within themselves. And taxonomically, it's been quite a mess. It's been redone and redone repeatedly, and now they've even gotten into the molecular level, and they still can't decide whom is related to whom. And sort of because of that, they have placed these in their own order, the Vitaceae. You can see them there on the upper right. They are fairly evolved. They're just their own persons. Notable species: as I already mentioned, the grape industry is very important worldwide. And then there are the Virginia creeper and the Boston ivy are actually used fairly widely in landscaping. Some examples: of course, the grape. You can see pictures of grapes, grape fields. These are native to the Mediterranean region. Central Europe, Southwest Asia, Southern Germany, sort of that area is where the Vitis vinifera originated. It is a liana, a woody vine, with distinctive flaky bark. The fruit is called a berry. It is the dark purple little things about a 1/4 inch in diameter, or the wild form. So these have been selected and bred over the centuries, just like we've seen with several other agricultural species. They're found in fairly humid forests, like little shade sometimes, and along stream banks. They are eaten fresh. They're fermented into wines, and then the wines, other things are done to the wine sometimes. Brandies and things are created. And then, of course, dried as currants and raisins. They are cultivated on every continent except Antarctica, fairly widely. There's evidence of humans in the Neolithic period interacting with grapes, and the cultivation began in prehistory. There's evidence of winemaking with the ancient Egyptians. It's in their hieroglyphics on their pyramids. Ancient Sumerians, ancient Greeks went on about making wine and talented winemakers and so on. And as you could imagine, there's about as many varieties of them as there is of any horticultural species. In white grapes alone, there's like 3,000 varieties, and those all came from one mutant that didn't produce color in the grapes. Grape skins. A few other examples then. There are some really weird-looking species in this genus. This one is called the Namibian grape, although it's grown in Australia, so I don't know exactly where it originated. You can see some kind of grape-like things hanging on it, though. And the picture on the left is that in the winter it loses all its leaves. Apparently, in the areas where it grows, it's extremely highly sought after and grows very slowly, so they fetch quite a price. Virginia creeper, Boston ivy. You can see some examples of this species taking over sides of a building. Some people don't like this so well because it tends to secrete oxalic acid that helps it stick to things, along with some other compounds in the stems. However, that certainly has an attractive look to it and is sort of iconic for Boston and the East Coast plants, cities. And then I hadn't previously known, but Wrigley Field is famous for having a wall of Boston ivy, and you can see it there in the lower left picture. This plant, one of the woody vines species in this family, is tetrastigma, which obviously is going to have 4 stigmas in some way or other. That big arm going through the middle of the picture on the right is the vine that has climbed up this tree and is now very significant and has its leaves up in the sun at the top. You can see pictures on the left of grape-looking structures and tendrils, much like grapes, of the actual leaves. The interesting thing about this genus is that the species in this genus are the only host for Rafflesia, the largest flower that's parasitic and doesn't produce any chlorophyll. It is this vine, this species of vines, that it is parasitic on. So interesting tie-in there. In Iowa, we have 3 or 4 members of the Vitaceae that grow here natively. The Virginia creeper is extremely common. It's unfortunately often mistaken for poison ivy. People pull it out like it's some kind of a evil thing, but you can see those leaves, the leaf slits are in 5s. Each group of 5 there is 1 leaf. And you can see the Latin name there, cinquefolia, so cinque being 5, so it's 5-leafed. And poison ivy is always in 3s. So if you've got something growing up your tree, count the leaves before you decide it's an enemy. And you can see the grape-like clusters there on the right. Wild or riverbank grape is Vitis riparia, also very common in Iowa and attractive to make wreaths and things with it. Makes an interesting craft options. The leaves here are not compound. You can see it's just a palmate leaf like a typical grape leaf. And again, you can see the little grape clusters. It's not at all unusual to see these in the fall in the forests around here. Not too much toxicity in this species other than oxalic acids, which can make it kind of bitter. Poisonous if you manage to eat a whole lot of the bitter grapes or leaves, but no one is likely to do that. And of course the toxicity of fermented grapes is subject to opinion. For more information, Wikipedia of course, and then there's an interesting site of the Vitaceae of Australia listed there at a butterfly house someplace in Australia. That is the Vitaceae.